The sun was weak on the broken colony world of Direxis 7. Dust hung in the air like a memory that wouldn't fade. Vira, a young alien girl with pale blue skin and small elf-like ears, moved carefully through the ruins of a collapsed building. Her hands were covered in dirt, her clothes torn and patched in many places. She had survived the war, but it had taken everything from her. Vira didn't remember much about the early years, only flashes of light, loud voices, and her parents holding her tightly. After the war ended, she was found alone, holding a pendant in her hand. The pendant was the only clue to her past. Since then, she had lived in an orphan shelter run by people who didn't really care. She stayed quiet. She didn't trust anyone. She believed her parents were dead. Every morning, Vera left the shelter and wandered through the ruins to find food or anything she could trade. She was smart and fast, and no one noticed her much. That's how she liked it. But on this day, something was different. A new human had arrived in the colony. He didn't look like the other scavengers. His name was Rain. He was tall, wore an old brown jacket, and carried tools instead of weapons. He didn't talk much, but when he looked at her, it wasn't with pity or fear. It was as if he recognized her. Vera noticed him watching her from a distance as she moved through the market stalls. She avoided him at first. She had learned to stay away from people who stared too long. But that evening, when she returned to her favorite hiding spot inside an old cargo ship, she found something strange. A small package had been left near her bag. Inside was a piece of dried fruit and a folded piece of metal with strange markings. It looked like it came from the same kind of ship she remembered from her early childhood. Her pendant began to feel warm in her hand. Vira looked around. No one was there, but she felt something shift inside her. It had been years since anyone showed her kindness. She clutched the pendant tighter and stared at the metal piece. There was something familiar about it, like a message waiting to be understood. That night, she dreamed of voices. A woman's voice, calm and strong. A man's voice, gentle but serious. And both of them said her name. Vira woke up with tears in her eyes. She didn't understand the dream, but she knew one thing. Something was changing, and it started the moment that human Rain looked into her eyes. She was no longer just a survivor. Something was calling her back to a past she thought was lost forever. Rain walked slowly through the old colony roads, his boots kicking up dust with every step. The air was dry, and the sky above was always gray, like the planet itself had forgotten how to smile. He had been to many broken worlds, but something about Direxis 7 made him stay longer than planned. He wasn't here for money or scrap. Rain had a different reason, one he kept locked deep inside his heart. He had seen Vera from a distance several times now. She moved like a ghost, quiet and fast, but her face, her eyes, they reminded him of someone he once knew. Someone from the war. Back at the shelter, Vera was thinking about the package. She didn't tell anyone. Not the caretaker, not the other kids. She kept the metal piece hidden, along with her pendant. But she couldn't stop wondering about Rain. Why did he look at her like that? And why did he leave something so personal, without saying a word? Rain sat alone in a small room he had rented near the edge of the colony. On his table was a worn-out data chip. He inserted it into his old handheld device. A weak projection appeared, a hologram of a woman with the same skin tone as Vira. Her voice was damaged in the recording, but some words still played. If you find her, keep her safe. The pendant will guide you. Her name is Vi. The rest was static. Rain leaned back in his chair and sighed. He had carried this message for years, always hoping one day he'd find the girl. And now, maybe, he had. The next morning, Vera was at the market again. She was buying dry bread with some old coins when Rain walked by. This time, he didn't just watch her. He stopped and placed something on the table beside her. It was another piece of metal. This one had a symbol etched into it, the same symbol that was on Vera's pendant. She froze. Her heart raced. Slowly, she looked up at Rain. "Where did you get this?" she asked, her voice quiet but sharp. Rain looked her in the eyes and said softly, "I knew your parents." Vira's eyes widened. The world around her seemed to disappear. She wanted to ask 1,000 questions, but her throat tightened. Could it be true? After all this time, Rain took a step back and nodded toward the outer edge of the colony. "If you want answers, meet me there. Tomorrow at sunrise." He left without another word. Vera stood still for a long time, her hand gripping the pendant tightly. The name of her parents had never been spoken aloud since the war. She had believed they were dead, forgotten. But now, a human stranger said he knew them, and Vera's world was about to change. Vera didn't sleep much that night. She kept turning the pendant in her hands, staring at the tiny symbol on it, the same one Rain had shown her on that metal piece. Her thoughts were full of questions. How did he know her parents? Was he lying? Could it be a trick? But deep down, something inside her whispered, "Trust him." When the first light of morning touched the broken colony, Vera was already walking toward the outer edge. She kept to the shadows, moving carefully through empty alleys. She didn't tell anyone she was leaving. No one would notice anyway. Rain was waiting near an old transport tower, its frame half buried in sand. He stood quietly, looking at the sky. When Vera arrived, he turned and gave her a small nod. "You came," he said. Vera crossed her arms. "Start talking." Rain smiled a little. "You look just like her. Your mother." Vera blinked. "You really knew her." "I was part of a resistance team during the war," Rain explained. "Your parents were leaders. They helped protect their people when the enemy attacked. Your mother was strong, brave, and your father, he was the one who trusted me." Vira's voice was low. "They died. Everyone says they died." Rain shook his head slowly. "That's what they wanted people to believe. But before they disappeared, they gave me something to protect." He pulled out a small chip from his jacket. "It has an old message, meant for you." He handed her the chip. Vera held it tightly, her fingers shaking. "Why didn't you come sooner?" "I searched every world," Rain said, "but the records were destroyed. You were hidden well. Only when I saw your pendant, I knew." Vera stared at the chip, her heart pounding. She didn't know if she was ready. She had spent years believing she was alone. Now the past was opening up again. Rain looked at her gently. "There's more. I found old coordinates, a place your parents wanted you to go. It might have answers, maybe even survivors." Vira's eyes met his. "Why are you helping me?" Rain didn't answer right away. He looked at the sky, then back at her. "Because I promised your father, and because you deserve to know the truth." For a moment, the wind was the only sound. Then Vera spoke, her voice quiet but firm. "I want to go." Rain nodded. "We leave at sunrise tomorrow. Pack light." As Vera walked back toward the colony, the pendant felt heavier than ever, but it wasn't a burden anymore. It was a key, one that might unlock everything she lost. The truth was out there, waiting. And this time, she would not run from it. The next morning, Vera stood at the edge of the colony, a small bag on her shoulder, and the pendant tucked safely around her neck. Rain was already there, checking the controls of a small old shuttle that looked like it hadn't flown in years. "Are you sure this thing can fly?" Vera asked, raising an eyebrow. Rain gave a half smile. "It'll hold together, just like us." They boarded the shuttle and took off before anyone noticed. The sky above Diraxis 7 turned from gray to black as the stars appeared. Vera looked out the window silently. This was her first time leaving the planet since she was a child. Rain piloted the ship with skill. He didn't talk much, but every once in a while, he looked at her with something soft in his eyes, like he understood her pain. They were heading toward a sector marked as unstable. It was full of dead satellites, broken stations, and forgotten battlefields. The galaxy had moved on, but these places still carried the scars of war. "Why are we going here?" Vera asked. "This area used to be a base for the resistance," Rain replied. "Your parents had a safe location hidden deep inside it. That's what the coordinates say." Vera nodded, though worry filled her chest. What if it was empty? What if it was a trap? After a few hours, they reached an old moon, half broken by old blasts. Rain landed the shuttle near a large cave-like structure. The entrance was covered in vines and metal debris. They stepped out, the air inside thin but breathable. Vera held a small flashlight while Rain scanned the door. "This place hasn't been opened in years," he said, "but it's still powered." As the door creaked open, cold air rushed out. The walls inside were lined with faded symbols and broken screens. Dust covered everything. But Vera felt something, like this place remembered her. They walked deeper into the old base. In one room, they found old beds, photos, and even some children's toys. Vera touched a cracked picture frame showing two smiling figures, an alien man and woman holding a small baby. Her hand trembled. "That's me," she whispered. Rain placed a hand on her shoulder. "This was your home before the war reached here." They kept exploring until they reached a locked chamber. Rain used the chip from earlier, and the door slid open slowly. Inside, a small console lit up. A message blinked. "For Vera." Vera stepped forward. Her heart raced. She touched the screen. A voice spoke out, soft, loving, and familiar. "If you're hearing this, my little star, we did not leave you. We saved you." Tears filled Vera's eyes. The past wasn't gone. It had been waiting for her. And this was only the beginning. Vera stood frozen in front of the console. Her mother's voice echoed through the old room, soft but full of strength. Even though the recording was damaged in some places, the words were clear enough to make her heart ache. "You were never alone, Vera. We had to hide you. If you're seeing this, it means you survived. And that gives us hope." Rain stayed silent beside her, letting her listen without interruption. The message continued, explaining how the war had turned deadly and that their enemies wanted something her parents had, something that could save their people. But they couldn't protect it and protect her at the same time. "We placed the knowledge in you, through your blood and mind," the voice said. "When the time is right, you will remember." The recording ended, and the room fell silent. Vera wiped her face, her eyes still wet. She looked at Rain. "They didn't leave me. They hid me to keep me safe." Rain nodded. "That's what your father told me before they disappeared. They trusted me to watch the stars, to wait for the right moment." Vera stared at the walls of the room. Everything was covered in dust, but it still felt like a place filled with love and hope. In the corner, a strange beacon device sat covered under an old cloth. Rain stepped over and pulled the cloth off. "This is it," he said. "This is what they were hiding." The beacon was small and shaped like a star. It glowed faintly as Rain brushed off the dirt. "It's a memory core," he explained. "It holds everything your people once knew. Language, history, even genetics. They built this as a last gift for future generations." Vera walked closer. "Can it still work?" "Maybe," Rain said, "but it needs energy. And once it activates, others might detect it." Vera understood what that meant. If they powered the beacon, they might bring enemies too. But they had come too far to stop now. She reached out and placed her pendant against the beacon's center. A light clicked on, then another. Slowly, the beacon came to life. Symbols floated in the air, symbols of her people, her home. "It's responding to you," Rain said with amazement. Vera felt a strange warmth flow through her. Images flashed in her mind. Cities in the clouds, songs in a forgotten language, and faces of her people. But the moment was cut short. An alarm buzzed on Rain's device. He checked it quickly. "We've been scanned." Someone picked up the signal. "Who?" Vera asked. Rain looked serious. "Not friends. Vyra didn't flinch. She looked at the glowing beacon and then at Rain. Then we protect it, just like they did. In that moment, she wasn't just a lost girl anymore. She was the key to her people's future. Rain's face was tight with focus as he checked the scanner again. A ship is coming. Fast, small, but armed. Vyra looked at the beacon. It was still glowing, showing symbols and flashing lights. Should we turn it off? Rain shook his head. Too late. The signal already went out. If we shut it down now, we lose everything. Vera stood beside the beacon, her eyes steady. Then we fight. Rain gave a slight smile. You really are your mother's daughter. They quickly moved through the base, locking doors and setting up small traps. Rain handed Vyra a small shock blaster. Only use it if you must, he said. Aim for the legs. We don't want to kill unless we have no choice. Minutes later, the enemy arrived. 3 masked figures in dark armor blasted their way into the base. They were bounty hunters, paid to find old tech and rare survivors. And Vera was both. Rain took cover behind a broken wall and fired a warning shot. This place is protected. Leave now. The bounty hunters didn't respond. They moved in silently, their weapons ready. Vyra hid near the beacon chamber. Her heart beat fast, but she remembered her mother's voice, telling her to be strong. One hunter came close to her position. He stepped carefully, scanning the room. Vyra waited, then kicked a loose pipe across the floor. The sound made the hunter turn. At that moment, she jumped from behind and fired the blaster. A flash of blue light hit his leg, and he dropped to the ground. Rain handled the others with quick moves, disabling one with a stun grenade and wrestling the last into a metal crate, locking him inside. When it was over, the base was quiet again. Rain wiped his forehead and looked at Vyra. Nice move. Vyra smiled a little. I got lucky. Rain chuckled. Sometimes luck is enough. They tied up the hunters and checked their gear. One of the hunters had a data chip with information. Someone had placed a bounty on Vera's family line. That meant others could come looking too. We can't stay here long, Rain said, but we need help. He sent out a private message to an old friend, a scientist named Lura, who had once worked with Vera's parents during the war. Hours later, a small silver ship arrived above the moon. A woman with gray skin and kind eyes stepped out. Rain, she said warmly, you really found her. Vera stepped forward. You knew my parents. Lura smiled gently. Yes, and I promised them that if this day came, I would help you. Vyra looked at the beacon, still glowing with ancient knowledge. She now had more than memories. She had someone who believed in her, someone who had waited. She was not alone anymore. The silver ship flew quietly through deep space. Vera sat by the window, watching the stars pass. She had never left Diraxis 7 before, but now she was on a journey far beyond anything she imagined. Lura stood beside her. We're close, she said softly. Rain was in the pilot's seat, guiding the ship toward a green and blue planet hidden inside a nebula. It didn't show up on normal maps. This planet was your people's secret world, Rain said. Only a few ever knew about it. Vyra felt something strange in her chest. Her pendant grew warm again. Did I live here? Lura nodded. Yes. This is where you were born. Your parents called it Zereth 4. It was meant to be a safe home for your kind. As they landed, the ship touched down near a large stone gate, covered in vines and glowing lines. The air was fresh, and the sky was a deep purple. Strange flowers glowed softly on the ground. They'd walked through the gate and entered a wide path surrounded by trees with silver leaves. In the distance, tall buildings made of crystal rose above the hills, broken but still standing. This was a memory sanctuary, Lura explained. Your parents built it to keep knowledge safe. The beacon you activated back at the base. It's connected to this place. Vyra stepped inside one of the old halls. The walls were lined with glowing lines, and small floating orbs followed her as she moved. A soft hum filled the air, like the building itself recognized her. In the center of the room, a pedestal lit up. Rain placed the beacon on it. The entire hall came to life. Lights flowed along the walls, and images filled the air. Videos of her people dancing, speaking, working together. Then, a final image appeared. Her parents. Her mother spoke gently. "If you are here, my daughter, then you are ready." Her father continued. Zereth 4 was built to restart what was lost. Inside this sanctuary is our full history, technology, and culture. It is yours now. Vyra felt her heart ache, but also grow strong. She looked around, understanding now what this place meant. It wasn't just her past. It was her future. But then a warning flashed on the pedestal. A signal had been sent from the bounty hunter's ship before they were caught. Others were coming. Dangerous ones. Rain read the message and looked at Vyra. "We have time, but not much." Vyra didn't look afraid. She stepped forward. "Then we start now. We protect this place, and we finish what my parents began." Lura smiled. "You were meant for this." Vyra placed both hands on the pedestal. The ground trembled gently as the sanctuary began to unlock its secrets. Codes, languages, and maps flowed around her. She was no longer just a lost child. She was the keeper of her people's legacy. The sanctuary glowed brighter as Vyra kept her hands on the pedestal. Light filled the room, forming strange symbols and voices in a forgotten language. Rain and Lura stood nearby, watching in quiet awe. "She's unlocking everything," Lura whispered. "The entire legacy is inside her." Vyra felt her mind opening. The pendant she wore, the beacon they carried, and the sanctuary itself, everything was connected. Her parents had placed a special code in her when she was just a baby. That code was now waking up. Images of starships, peaceful cities, and great inventions appeared around her. She saw memories from her people, stories of peace, war, love, and survival. But just as the process reached its peak, alarms rang across the sanctuary. Rain pulled out his scanner. "They've arrived. A warship entered orbit, armed and looking for us." Lura moved fast. "They must have tracked the signal from the moon. We need to defend this place." Vyra looked at the glowing pedestal. "If I stop now, we lose it all." Rain glanced at her. "Then don't stop. I'll buy you time." "I'll help," Lura added. Rain handed Vyra a small device. "This will protect your mind from overload. Stay focused." He and Lura rushed outside as the sky darkened. A large ship hovered above the forest, dropping soldiers dressed in black armor. The enemies were well-trained and heavily armed. Rain and Lura set up defense shields near the gates and fired warning blasts. "We're not giving her up," Rain shouted. Inside, Vyra continued the activation. Her body felt cold, but her heart burned with purpose. Her parents' voices echoed again. "Our people must not be forgotten. You are the hope, Vyra." Suddenly, the sanctuary offered her a choice. Release the knowledge across the galaxy now, or store it for future use. Vyra thought fast. If she released it now, more enemies might find it. But if she stored it, her people might remain lost. She made her choice. "I will share it with those who are ready, not with those who want to destroy." She used her pendant to set a protective limit. Only those with her bloodline, or those chosen by her, could access the knowledge. The sanctuary responded. A bright light burst into the sky like a signal, but it also created a strong shield around the structure. Outside, the enemies tried to break through, but the shield held. Inside, Vyra stepped away from the pedestal. The glow faded to a soft pulse. The legacy was now safe, guarded by her will. Rain and Lura returned, covered in dust but unharmed. "It's done?" Rain asked. Vyra nodded. "It's protected, and it's awake." Lura smiled proudly. "Your parents would be so proud." Vyra looked out at the rising sun over Zereth 4. She wasn't just protecting history. She had become a part of it. The sun rose gently over Zereth 4, casting golden light across the sanctuary. The battle was over. The shield held strong, and the enemy ship had pulled back, unable to break through. Vera stood quietly on a balcony, looking out over the trees. Birds flew through the sky. The world felt calm, but her thoughts were busy. Rain joined her, holding 2 warm drinks. He handed her one. "You did something great," he said. Vera gave a small smile. "I didn't do it alone." There was a long silence between them. The wind moved softly through the trees. Then Rain looked down, his face more serious. "There's something I never told you," he said. Vera turned to him. "What is it?" Rain took a deep breath. "I wasn't just a soldier during the war. I wasn't just your parents' ally. I was part of the team that helped plan your escape." Vera blinked. "You helped hide me." Rain nodded. "Your parents knew the war was turning. Enemies were closing in. They built the sanctuary and the beacon, but they knew you were the real future." He pulled out a small silver cube from his jacket. "Your father gave this to me. He said it should only be opened when you found your way back." Vera slowly took the cube. It was cold, smooth, and marked with the same symbol on her pendant. She pressed the center, and the cube opened with a soft click. A small hologram appeared, her father's face. "Vera, my light," the recording said, "if you're seeing this, it means you survived, and you've begun the path. I want you to know, every choice we made was for you. You carry our hope. Never forget who you are." The hologram faded. Vera's eyes filled with tears, but she stood tall. "He knew I'd come back someday." Rain placed a hand on her shoulder. "He believed in you more than anyone, and I promised him I'd find you." Vera looked at him. "You kept that promise." Rain smiled, but there was sadness in his eyes. "I thought I failed for many years, but finding you, helping you, made everything worth it." Vera took a deep breath. The pain of the past still lived inside her, but now it felt different. She wasn't just a survivor. She was chosen, prepared. "Thank you, Rain," she said softly. He nodded. "Always." Later, they walked back into the sanctuary. Lura was there, helping sort the recovered knowledge and storing it safely. "Others will come," Lura said. "Some to help, some to harm." Vera looked at the glowing pedestal. "Then we'll be ready. My parents didn't build this alone. I won't guard it alone either." She touched her pendant once more, feeling her parents' strength inside it. Her journey wasn't over. But now she knew who she was, and she wasn't afraid anymore. Days passed on Zereth 4, but Vera never felt bored. Each day, she woke early, helped Lura organize the ancient archives, and walked through the glowing halls of the sanctuary. Every wall, every corner, held a story of her people. Her parents had worked so hard to protect this place, and now it was in her hands. The sanctuary had changed too. With the beacon fully activated, it started repairing itself. Walls glowed brighter. New lights came on. Small helper drones began floating through the rooms, restoring broken areas. It was like the world itself was waking up, just like Vera. One morning, as Vera walked alone near the crystal gardens outside the sanctuary, she noticed something strange. A small light blinked on her pendant. It had never done that before. She touched it gently, and a message played. It wasn't just any message. It was her mother's voice, soft and full of love. "Vera, if this reaches you, it means you've returned. It means you're ready. And it means we may still be out there." Vera gasped. Rain and Lura came running when they saw her signal flare. "They're alive," Vera said. "My parents, they might still be alive." Rain looked at the pendant. This message was hidden, locked until the sanctuary was restored. Lura's eyes widened. "If they survived, we have to find them." Rain nodded. "We'll need a bigger ship, more supplies, and allies." Vera stood still for a moment, looking at the sky. She had come so far, from being a scared orphan on a dusty colony, to becoming the guardian of a forgotten people, and now She had a new mission. She turned to Rain and Lura. "We're not done. Not yet." They smiled. Before they left the sanctuary, Vera recorded her own message and sent it into space. "To any survivors of my people, I am Vera, daughter of those who built Zereth 4. The sanctuary lives. The knowledge is safe. Come home." The signal would travel across stars, reaching those who still remembered. As the ship rose from Zereth 4 and entered orbit, Vera looked down at the planet, her true home. She wasn't afraid of the road ahead. She had purpose, hope, and 2 people who stood beside her. Rain turned from the pilot's seat. "Where to now, Captain?" Vera smiled. "We follow the stars." And so, the girl who once thought she was alone now led the way forward, with courage in her heart, light in her eyes, and the legacy of an entire world behind her. She was never truly alone. She never would be again.